We've been asking ourselves the same question week after week. So, what is actually happening? Why are so many teens overwhelmed? And we're so close to the end, we're so close to the finish line. And I feel some parents are trying to soothe the situation by finding the nearest exit for their children. So, this episode, we want to dedicate to how parents might actually be undermining that confidence. So we are coming to the end of the school year now. The recital is just around the corner, actually is this weekend. And we've been deep in rehearsals and looking back, something that stands out like it's never before. There's a lot of absenteeism, many injuries, and actually quite a few dropouts. More than we've ever experienced in the other years.
Yeah, and on the other hand, the students who stayed with us, they told us they felt overwhelmed. They feel a kind of pressure from all sides. It's like they have no room to breathe. And we had to reorganize and restructure the choreographies multiple times just to work with the ones who showed up. And many couldn't balance the pressure of school, family situations, and their dancing hours.
Yeah. So the question is, what specific age are you most concerned about?
For me, I saw it most with my junior group. It's the group 12 to 15 years old. And it was quite hard because they're all good people and they do love dance. But it's just that they couldn't manage to show up.
So we try to look at it from, in many parallel situations. And and the same thing, they feel the same thing in school also. What they describe to us is this vat filled with water, but this vat is like full of holes. You plug one hole and three more appear. And it seems like they're just desperately trying to manage the situation, but they just can't keep up. And they're not getting the work done because they're just spending most of the time trying to save the situation, so to speak.
We interviewed one teacher, and she said to us, one student needs extra support. Another student is on a different learning path. And then another one has language challenges. And another student has a crisis at home. And there are often 20 students or 30 students in a class, and they need a specific path for all of them. Yeah. And there's simply not enough people and time for that.
Yeah. And what we notice in our own studio is starting to reflect that. One students will start to struggle, so they won't come to class. It disturbs the rehearsal process because next week they come back in, they jump back in. And the first question they ask is, I don't know where I have to stand. So then we have to slow down the whole process to cater to this one student. And you see visibly that the other dancers start to get a little bit annoyed.
Yeah,
they start to get a little bit.
It affects everyone.
Yeah, they also realize that they're coming towards the end and they need to actually just run the piece over and over again so that they have this feeling of confidence when they go on stage.
It slows down, and even the students who are coping well, they just start to feel the weight of it.
Of course, we keep looking for answers.
Yeah.
And I was reading articles that was by VRT, which is the Belgian public broadcaster, and it was an investigation into the growing number of students that are staying home from school. So the article goes, right, again, more and more students are staying at home due to mental problems, and they see how the schools are feeling completely powerless about the situation. So the core of what they found was that this has started since the COVID crisis. Now we're starting to see the results of it, and a lot of students are home for more than 30 half days due to illness, and it's not just like small absences. It's like essentially the kids who are just not going to school.
Yeah, they are mentioning anxiety, the fear of failure, burnout. And half of the school survey said that the problem had grown significantly over the past 5 years. And I think that is the after COVID period.
Yeah, this is not a Belgian problem. This is not a school problem. This is actually a generational problem. And schools have told us directly that they cannot carry this alone, that they need to have support from other angles, and they need to have support from even like from home. They need to have support from hobby classes.
Yeah, that's what we believe, at least, that dance is one of the few places where a child still receives that individual care and feedback, and they work through challenging situations to have a kind of ownership, and they experience mastery if they hang on, and it learns to manage emotions, especially in dance. But when I read that 1 in 7 children in Europe have mental health conditions, that's when you have a class group in front of you, that's 3, 4, 5 students in every studio.
Yeah, that's true. And in the United States, it's about 1 in 5 to 1 in 7. Depends on which study you look at. So many of you are doing, you're doing everything you can. You're going to praise your children. You're telling them that they're doing well. You tell them that they're beautiful as they are, and you're trying to encourage them. But if that is not helping, what is?
Yeah, there was one mom who said to me, I've been doing everything. I've been to every competition. I tell my dancer did well. I say I'm proud of her. And she still is not feeling confident. What am I missing?
Yeah, the story about this girl, Sophie. She's 16 now, okay? And she's been studying ballet with us for about 8 years now. The next week it's our recital. And this last week, her mother sent an email, and it's quite a sad message written on behalf of Sophie. And because Sophie has decided to stop dancing and will not be taking part in the recital. So her mother reaches out to us and she says, thank you for the support that we've given her, because she's been through quite a few mental health challenges.
She said that some other students in the room made her feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
how
and she felt so sad about that she couldn't come to class anymore. And I was just feeling sad for this whole situation, because I do believe there will always be people who make you feel uncomfortable. But the most important thing is how you feel about yourself. I have that sense of feeling that when you pull your child out of one situation, it will happen in the next one, whether it's in school or in another club. The mom also mentioned nothing serious happened.
Nothing
it's just
serious
a
happened.
sense of feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, but isn't she also the one who has skipped quite a few of these classes? And knowing this child, I mean, not to point fingers at her, she's always been unsure about herself, and she's been unsure about the steps. She's unsure about her positioning in the choreography, and if she doesn't show up, it just provides extra reasons why the others might say, hey, Sophie doesn't know a step, so
or they
she's
might
just
look
in the
a
way.
certain way. It's really that domino effect, one thing that leads to the next, and you can see already where it's going. And there's a point when we cannot help her anymore as teachers. And for the mom, also, she has a 16-year-old dancer who decides not to come. You cannot just put her in the car and drag her there.
Yeah, you can't drag her.
She's a young adult.
Yeah.
Eventually, your child will need to help themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if you like this type of content, could we ask you to like and subscribe on your platform of choice? And just write in the comments your questions or reflections. We promise to read and answer every one of them.
This research that was conducted by Columbia University, it was way back in 1998, which ran a study where they looked at what praise does to these groups of children. So they took 2 groups of children, and they were given both the same tasks. And afterwards, one was praised for being intelligent. Specifically, they say, you must be really smart. And the other group was praised for the effort. The praise was, you must have worked really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, to take the research up to the next level, they gave them an even harder task. And guess what? The intelligent group, they gave up. And the effort group, they just kept going. It's the same group. There were different words, but they are completely different outcomes.
Because you cannot just hand a child confidence by telling them they are talented or smart. What you give them is like a thin layer. It appears as a confidence. And then the first time they face something that contradicts their story, it's like the facade cracks easily.
Yeah, and they just crumble immediately. So before we go further, we also are not implying that you shouldn't praise your child. Praise can be especially helpful, but it's not helpful when it is constant, when it's kind of inflated, and it's also when it's too focused on this approval that children need from adults.
Because you kind of follow your instinct. You want to say, good job or well done. And cheering for your child, it really comes from a place of love. It is true. Don't stop that.
Yeah.
But if the praise is mainly used to control or to soothe or to push the child may start performing for approval, your approval, instead of building on their own internal sense of competence or self-confidence. But where does confidence actually come from? A psychologist named Albert Bandura, he spent decades mapping the sources of self-confidence, and he found 4 main things.
And the first one was vicarious experience. That means you're watching someone do something, a particular task in a particular following order, and they have a certain result. So when you see that, you learn from it. You imbibe the lessons that they go through, and you have a kind of feeling that, yeah, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, and the other one is verbal persuasion. It's being told, you can do it. And maybe your parents say it, or your friends, or your peers. That is that part of cheering about the doing itself.
Yeah. And the next one is there is this emotional and physiological state. So that means, what I mean by that is whether they handle the situation with stress or they can handle that calmly. I feel that a lot of parents have this, especially with overwhelmed parents, they have this reaction that's comes out of stress, of course, and anger, that children somehow will take this over. Not immediately, but they will do that sometimes in the future when they handle the similar situations with either they're stressed or calm. So it's really important that children have good role models, aka parents who are able to handle it with a calm mind.
Yeah, and the most important one for self-confidence is a mastery experience. Doing something hard, you get through it, and you know you did it. And that is the main thing of self-confidence.
You have this kind of flywheel effect. And you have these this mini flywheel that the child is turning on. This is every time they do the task, they complete the task, they've turned it once.
Mm-hmm.
But what we understand from flywheels is you have to turn it many a time before the next wheel starts to turn, and then so on.
And you'll
and so
get
forth.
In that momentum also.
Yeah. And we look at the second flywheel as kind of feedback. Feedback from your teachers, feedback from, from parents, from your friends. In that feedback you take to adjust what you do and to make it better each time. And that flywheel keeps turning and turning. And eventually the big flywheel starts to turn also. And at that point of time, they're starting to see real results. They're starting to see life-changing results. And if they're able to continue the process, that's when the child sees to see real results, and you as parents start to see real results. And I think at that point of time, confidence starts to get built.
And once one process is done, you can just repeat it for the next one.
The only thing is, you have to do it many a time. It's not just one time thing. You just keep going on and keep repeating the process. And that is, really important. So what are the 5 steps to developing this confidence?
Yeah, what can you do right now at home? 1, daily short conversations. No interrogations, no interviews or anything, just small chats every day. How was it? And really listening, not pretend to listen, but really engage in what your child is saying.
What do you think is the best moment when you can have these conversations?
Sometimes it happens while we're doing the dishes. We're side by side and you're doing something, so you start talking about the day. Often it's at the end of the day when just before bedtime, we would say, how was your day? What was your most beautiful moment of the day? And I must say, our son left house at 11. He's in boarding school in Royal Ballet School, London. And I'm so happy that we had this habit of having these daily conversations already before he left. So every evening we have this, I call it, it's his time. I look at the clock and I see, it's time for the call. And we have this 10-minute call and we keep having these small conversations. And there's room and time in our schedule to just connect. And if nothing happens, that's okay. But if if we have some emotions that we want to share, there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah, trying to have these honest moments, share these honest moments as much as possible. I think number 2 is, and you know this already, we've talked about this earlier in the podcast, is to praise the process, not to praise the result. Praising them when they get to action, when
they start
something, praise them to keep them going, this steady process. And so you're still being supportive, and it points to what they did, not what they are. And this is a difference between this kind of like decorative kind of praise and the praise that actually gives them a solid platform from which they can, do anything that they want to.
Yeah, and 3, you set up the steps and then you step back. So it means you pick a goal for your child or your dancer, you name that outcome, where do you want to go, what do you want to reach, and then you work it backwards. What do we have to do in order to reach there?
Yeah.
So it's small steps, consistent steps, you map it out together with them, and then you take a step back.
Yeah, and the next one is where we talk about letting them do it, so continuing from there on. This is the hardest part, quite honestly, because they're going to have to walk through this, I call it the desert moment, because that's the time when they don't, there's just a moment before they could get any feedback. It could be that rehearsals are hard. They might get a correction from a teacher. They might get a correction from others. Like we talked about last week, when they end up in back row or somewhere that they had, they don't reach what they had imagined.
There's going to be a struggle.
There's going to be, for sure, this struggle. Yeah. And our job as parents is not to protect them from that. At that point of time, it's to step back and say, hey, it sounds like a hard rehearsal. It sounds like a hard deal. What do you think happened? And let them analyze that in silence or in conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But don't take the struggle away.
Absolutely.
Please don't do that.
No.
Yeah. And then 5, it happened. They made it. So you celebrate the finishing. It doesn't matter if they win or not. You just celebrate for the process ending. It could be a competition that is over, a semester in school that they finished, a course that they took. And you just celebrate and you say something like, hey, you got through the whole thing. Whatever the result is, you did it.
And then rinse and repeat, and just do it infinite amount of times, because that is what teaches a child how they can get things done. And they're not just focusing on the outcome, not focusing on the trophies, but it's a kind of like track record they're building. They're exercising this ability to start, analyze, finish it, and go back again and again. So which I call the flywheel process. So you keep turning it again and again, because I don't think this is going to stop. It's just going to be a different situation. And I think it's going to be a lifelong thing. And that's what we want to give them, that the real goal is not to make the children feel impressive for that moment, but to help them become capable for a lifetime.
Yeah, and children who build real agency are more likely to persist, recover from setbacks, and trust themselves when things get hard.
Yeah, and we hope that you as a parent can help them keep dreaming, keep doing it, and giving it. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.